I'm Angela Mitchell, normally the enrollment specialist for Lamont Admission, and in a former life, I was a classical radio host. So today, I'm getting in the interviewer chair once again for old time's sake, and my guest is Lilli Bailey-Duran, the founder of Lamont's student podcast. Hello, Lilli.
Hi, Angela.
Lilli, you're a second-year master's voice student, and before we get into everything having to do with the podcast, I just want to see how you are and how has this COVID year been going for you in your program?
It's definitely been a huge learning experience, I think. COVID has really forced me to become a better musician when I could potentially hide behind the piano, when I could hide my wrong notes. I can't do that anymore. Our voice lessons are mostly a cappella. There's a lot of emphasis on independent learning, which is something that I haven't been the best at before, but now I feel like I excel in my independent learning. There's been a lot of really awesome resources that are easy to find, that have been made easy to find because of COVID. For instance, libraries now have almost everything online, which is really nice when it's 1 a.m. and you're researching for a project that's due within 24 hours.
Yeah.
So I think that there's definitely a lot of difficulties with having live performances being a lot more difficult or canceled, and not having the immediate response from an audience is definitely difficult. But you find your own sense of gratification without that. And I've definitely experienced that with our opera scenes performance that we had in the fall. It was so invigorating to actually perform with a live pianist and other people. I sang in the Così fan tutti trio/duet, and it was just, it almost brought me to tears being able to actually sing with people again. You know, it really gives you a sense of, it makes you realize what you've been taking for granted when it comes to music. And I definitely have been taking this for granted, being back in the music world. So yeah, it's really nice. And it gives you a whole other sense of appreciation. And every single day that I'm in class, every single day that I can sing with another person is just outstanding. You know, that's actually why, that's one of the biggest reasons why I decided to stay in Lamont Chorale, even though I don't need to take it for credits or anything, because I get to sing with people 3 days a week, and it's there's no words to describe how special that sensation is now.
Yeah, I agree that it really has made us all think about how much we probably took that for granted before COVID. And in a sense, musicians have had to become producers. The vast majority of what we're doing is recording something and then putting it online. You, Lilli, you had this idea back, over a year ago to have the student podcast. It ended up being called The Rose Room. So tell us more about how you got interested in media and audio recording and mixing leading up to this podcast.
In my undergraduate, I was a music business major, which was a brand new major at my university. I think it was 3 years old when I finally actually joined as that. And one of the classes that we were required to take was recording techniques. And this major at the University of Northern Colorado was geared towards people who wanted to be producers. And I kind of took it and went a different route to be classically focused. But I learned so much in the producer's chair. I learned enough to know that I probably will never produce a professional album because just the ear that you have to have. I have so much respect for audio engineers now because I can't even explain the things that they hear. They have such intelligence when it comes to sound that is so amazing to me. But it gave me the basics to learn how to record and to learn the basics of what a good setup looks like, what microphones I should go out and get, what audio interfaces are good, how to just do the basics of cutting, splicing audio, all of that stuff. So that was really interesting to me. And I had really, really great teachers. I had Socrates Garcia and Greg Heimbecker. They were both amazing teachers at the University of Northern Colorado, and they did such a great job teaching me, someone who has absolutely no background in this, the basics. And I took that and went forward with my own things. And one of the reasons why I decided to go the podcast route is the past couple years, I think starting in 2017, I really just started to fall in love with the audio format of storytelling. It was easy to sit back and listen to a podcast while playing a game on your phone or driving your car to work or even mindlessly doing work tasks. It was something that I could do that would keep me entertained while I was doing something mindless. And this passion, I slowly realized that I wanted to start telling stories, that I wanted to start contributing to this art form. And so a while ago, actually, decided that I wanted to create a podcast. Actually, before I went to Lamont, I realized that I wanted to make a classically some sort of podcast that had to do with music. And I didn't quite have an idea formed, but part of me, when I decided to go to Lamont, part of me was excited to be around like-minded people and potentially find a group of individuals who would want to help me in this venture to create a podcast. And once COVID hit, I quickly realized that this was my chance.
Yeah. And so you're now 24 episodes in to the Rose Room. So that's 20 official episodes and 4 bonus episodes. And the Rose Room team is made up of you and a number of other Lamont students. So how did this come together that you decided that Lamont should have a student podcast? And how did you get others on board?
So actually, I spoke with you first, Angela.
I do have some insight into this history, indeed. Yes.
So this originally came to me as an idea to produce an opera as a radio play. Because of the COVID pandemic, we were not able to perform any of our operas in the spring of last year. And I thought that this could be a really cool way to go forward and perform one of our operas. Unfortunately, that idea didn't quite go through because it wasn't worked out quite yet. I didn't really know what I was doing when it came to podcasting, to be perfectly honest. But I sat down and spoke with you, and we brainstormed, and we quickly realized that there was a need for some sort of way for the entire music building to have this communication, to have something that they could all come together and listen to that would have an impact on them as students, that would highlight them as students, as teachers. Through our 24 episodes, I've learned so much about our community. I've been so amazed. And as someone who's living in the classical world of Lamont, finding out more about the jazz world, finding out more about the instrumental world has been so eye-opening. And it just makes me really, truly appreciate how amazing Lamont is and what kind of people we seem to attract to our school. And it's really exciting. And one of the cool parts, every single person I approached about this didn't say no. I've just had so much support. I don't know what I did to get this lucky, but I've only had support when it came to this. And I think it says something about the people that go to Lamont, the people that run Lamont. When I approached Keith Ward about starting the student podcast, I only got support in response. He was extremely kind. He was willing to be our first guest on our first episode. And it was just, I've never been to a school that cares this deeply about their students, and that truly seems to want to see their students excel outside of just the studies. With this podcast, I'm not receiving any sort of school credit or any sort of, this is all just on my own. And I'm fully supported by the school, and it's just really special. And yeah, everyone that joined has just been outstanding. We've all learned so much going forward, and they all feel that this is something that they can put on their resumes, which I find extremely important because, you know, with COVID happening, we all lost so many really important opportunities. And now I'm giving a few opportunities to people, which makes me really happy.
Yeah. Yeah. So full disclosure, I have been acting as like a staff liaison advisor to this podcast team. And so it's been awesome to be in the room with you guys, in the Zoom room, and hear these ideas that are thrown out, and hear you guys talk with such excitement about these topics, which sometimes, you know, delve into topics that could be more controversial. So Lilli, do you have any favorite episodes so far? Favorite topics?
It's a little bit, I don't know. I can't help but have the Baby It's Cold Outside episode be my absolute favorite. A little part of it is because I think Lauren and I absolutely knocked it out of the park with our duet that we covered of the song. But we were able to touch on really sensitive topics. You know, the topics of sexual assault, the topics of, you know, all of the controversy that goes along with Baby It's Cold Outside. And we were able to look at it from both sides of it. You know, I went into it talking about the historical context of this song, and Lauren went into it talking about the current context of this song. And I think it was really great that we were able to see that. And one of my other favorite episodes, is it a cop-out if I say, like, all of our student spotlights?
Not at all.
They're just so good. Every single student spotlight we've ever had just makes me so infinitely happy because we get to showcase our students. We get to showcase their music. And we just get to brag about how cool the students are at our school. It's wonderful. And I'm not going to lie, they're the most fun to edit because I get to add music into the actual podcast, which has been so much fun. So, yeah. So 24 episodes in, any lessons that you've learned along the way from, you know, episode 1 to now? Oh, yeah. One of the biggest ones is it's okay if you need to change your release schedule. I now understand why a lot of podcasts are every other week instead of every week. We're actually changing that for our upcoming season. I've learned that it's kind of difficult being a leader. And I'm usually one to step into leadership roles. But with the Rose Room, I made it a point that this is my gift to Lamont. This is something that I'm going to be leaving behind. I don't really have any intentions of staying on board as an alumni because I want this to be something for the students to continue. I've made it so that this can easily be passed on to the next students who are in charge. And I have no real need to have my name on this because I'm just so excited for continuing this idea for the students. I think that this is a great way for them to get their voices heard. I think that this is a great way to show people what we are really concerned about. You know, we've touched on topics of racism. We've touched on topics of sexism. We've touched on topics of mental health and the importance of keeping your mental health. It's things that we don't normally get to talk about in a public sort of venue. And I just want to keep it going. You know, I think it's really sweet that most of these podcast ideas are not from me, which I think is wonderful.
Yeah.
Our team is absolutely amazing.
Yes, they are. Well, Lilli, because I work in admission, I have access to your resume, and I was doing my research and looking at your resume. I saw the typical opera singer stuff, and you do things like costume and sewing and stage makeup as well. And then you put basic studio recording and mixing. So I hope you're going to upgrade that to like advanced, right? Or expert now?
No. I will put, if you want to make a podcast, I can help you make a podcast.
Well, Lilli, we can't wait for more episodes of The Rose Room and see what you do after the Lamont School, after your time here is done and beyond. The Rose Room podcast is available on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. And if you have any ideas for the show, if you're interested in appearing on the show, you can email them at lamontroseroom@gmail.com. If you want to get in touch with Lilli, her email is lillidmusic@gmail.com. That's Lilli. Lilli Bailey-Duran, thank you so much for speaking with me today. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you so much, Angela. This has been wonderful.